Evolutionary biologists often distinguish between microevolution on one hand and macroevolution on the other. Microevolution usually refers to processes that can be studied throughout recorded history or observed to happen in the field. Macroevolution, by contrast, refers to large-scale evolutionary processes taking place above the level of speciation. Now, these processes are usually too slow to study over human lifetimes and are usually investigated over millions of years. Now, of course, this means that much of what we know about macroevolution comes from a study of the fossil record. We know that life appeared on Earth over 3.5 billion years ago, and from that first single species diversified into between 3 and 100 million species today, although the best estimates are probably closer to 8 or 9 million. Now, surprisingly and rather worryingly for those of us interested in the preservation of biodiversity, we can only estimate this living number because only a fraction of species have been described and documented. The manner in which diversity accumulated through deep time is one aspect of the study of macroevolution. Broadly, there is a balance between the rate at which new species arise and the rate at which they go extinct. Now, the net rate of speciation through time has outstripped the net rate of extinction, and that's why there are more species today than there were in the past. But there are times when diversity has increased particularly rapidly, and these are called radiations, or declined and nosedived very fast, and these are called mass extinctions. Radiations are often associated with the origin of major new groups, or the evolution of so-called key innovations or novelties that allow organisms to exploit new habitats or resources. The evolution of flight in insects and birds may be two such examples. But radiations can also occur in the wake of mass extinctions. Now, mass extinctions are geologically brief periods during which 70% or more of species die out. But mass extinctions also open up ecological opportunities for the surviving lineages to exploit. Modern mammals appear to have radiated into the vacant ecospace created by the asteroid mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. In fact, the dinosaur mass extinction was only the most recent and by no means the largest of 5 such mass extinctions that punctuated the last half billion years. The biggest such event, the so-called Great Dying at the end of the Permian 252 million years ago, saw the extinction of over 90% of species globally. Now, the end Permian mass extinction almost certainly resulted from the eruption of millions of cubic kilometres of lava in the region of Siberia. However, both asteroid impacts and volcanic eruptions eject soot and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and this causes geologically rapid climate change to which most species are unable to adapt, and this often results in their extinction. Now, 2 things flow from this. Firstly, much of the turnover in diversity on geological timescales is driven by physical rather than biological factors such as competition between species. Secondly, these physical upheavals are unpredictable, and many of their effects are indiscriminate. The study of macroevolution is not limited to studies of diversity through time, but also encompasses attempts to reconstruct the evolutionary tree of life using the data from genes, from anatomy or morphology, and also from fossils. Now, evolutionary trees, or phylogenies, are essential in order to understand evolutionary transitions and the sequence by which the bodies of increasingly more complex organisms have been assembled through evolutionary time. How and when, for example, did four-legged vertebrates evolve from their fish ancestors, or mammals from their reptilian forebears? Unlike most natural scientists, the biologists and paleontologists studying macroevolution are rarely able to conduct experiments because the timescales involved are simply too great. However, evolutionary trees allow us to find patterns that may be repeated throughout the course of macroevolution because separate branches on the tree are effectively independent runs of the evolutionary process. Now, these independent runs not only occur on different branches of the tree, but also at different times and often on different continents. So it is that similar structures, or indeed overall body forms, can evolve convergently or in parallel many times across the tree of life. As one example, complex eyes have evolved numerous times within animals, but these all work in a small number of ways because the physics of forming an image is always the same. There are other very striking examples in the evolution of mammals. There are two main branches of mammal evolution: the placentals, like ourselves, that give birth to relatively large babies, and the marsupials, like kangaroos and koalas, that give birth to a tiny offspring and then suckle this within a pouch for an extended period. Now, these two lines diverged way back in the Jurassic, but both the placental and the marsupial branches of the tree have independently evolved saber-toothed cat, dog, flying squirrel, and mole-like forms with uncanny similarity on different continents. This phenomenon of evolutionary convergence raises the possibility of formulating some general macroevolutionary rules, and may even allow us to make predictions about the likely future course of evolution, or even the probable nature of life on other planets.